Okay, before I explain this, I'm going to be making an announcement. This is the 1 day only thing, okay? On test, you solve these equations, an ABC with your b squared, square root of b squared minus 4ac. Then if you get a decimal, you have to go to the quadratic formula song. If you get a whole number, you need to do your t-chart factoring into 2 parentheses. That's how you should be doing it on tests. This is a 1 day only thing. Okay, why are we doing it? Because Larson makes him do it in trig, so I'm going to do it a 1 day only thing. Okay, you need to do this assignment will be graded, so do it to the best of your ability. But don't panic at the end if you're like, God, he threw another thing in there. That's gonna screw me up. No. Okay, it's not, because I still want you doing the same way you did on the last test. Okay. Solve each quadratic equation for x by, quote, completing the square. Okay, because I don't care if you're not taking trig. I mean, that's your right, but you still need to do this assignment. Okay. Okay, completing, there's that term, completing the square. So, in this box only, you need this box for something else. Okay, there's 2 answers for x. We're just going to come up to them a different way, 1 day only. So you know that means you're going to take your b divided by 2 to the second. Okay, and then you will need to eventually factor. But you need to set up the problem. Okay, so you set that up. Here's how you set up the problem, an actual equation that you have to solve by completing the square. You make 3 equals. Don't go down into that square, you need room. Okay, on the first step, you make a parentheses. Okay, first off, that's A, that's B, that's C. 0 doesn't get a label. You make 1 parentheses, you put the 0, but you kick your C outside the parentheses. And then you always put 1x to the second. Now, that matches what we have here, so I don't have to divide, I just continue dropping down the 6x. So this is A, this is B, but I want a new C to go in there. And that's where the B divided by 2 to the second power comes from. So B we know is 6. Divided by 2 to the second. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 to the second is 9. Okay. Now I brought a 9 into the equation. A 9. So I need a plus 9 there. Now there's nothing in front of the parentheses, so it's just 9. Okay. Now in the second step, 0 plus 9 is 9. You still keep your minus 3. Now we factor that into 2 parentheses. A product of 2 parentheses. So A times C, 1 times 9 is 9. So the signs have to match. You're trying to add to plus 6x. Add. So the signs are both going to be plus. Now look at the board. What's the square root of 9? Oh yeah, it's 3. Okay. So now that take out the 1, and it's x plus 3, x plus 3. Now, last step here. You got 9, and then you write that as x plus 3 to the second power. That's part 1, okay? Here's part 2, okay? You need to solve for x, bring in your h variable. So you write h to the second minus 3 equals 9. Don't forget the second power on the h. Then you go make a table over here, because you will be bringing back the expression x plus 3. Now you solve. Solve with the square root method. 12. Now get rid of the second power with the square root. Now unfortunately 12 is not a perfect square. No, you're not going to just write a decimal. I want you to divide that by what's up here. Don't use 1 as a divider. Okay, if you get up to 4 and it doesn't divide, I mean you can use 1, it's kind of pointless. So 12 divided by 9, I'd start at 9 decimal. 12 divided by 4, cha-ching. So I make 2 square roots, and I put the number I divided by and the answer I got. You're breaking up the square root of 12 into the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. Square square root of 4 is 2, okay? So 2 square root of 3 is what we put on this side, and then negative 2 square root of 3 on this side. Now it's a game changer. When you have a square, you minus 3, when you have a square root over there, you put minus 3 after because you can't simplify that. You can't subtract anything, okay? So you put it behind. So you write 2 square root of 3 minus 3. Okay, it's weird looking answer, but it's right. Then over here I minus 3, and since we have a square root attached to the negative 2, then I minus 3 after it. You can't take negative 2 minus 3. Negative 2 is multiplied by a square root of 3. The 3 is not, so we keep them separate. So it's negative 2 square root of 3 minus 3. They're the same answer, only that one, first one's a negative. Okay, next problem. You only have 3 of these to do. Okay, so A, B, C. So I do want you to use complete the square on this assignment only. B divided by 2 to the second, and then a table. Now set up your equation. Now you make a parentheses, you put the 0, and kick out the plus 7. You always put 1x squared there, and if it matches what you already have, you're good. Okay. A, B. Now I have to find a new C. Okay. So B is negative 12. Just put 12. Okay. Because negative 6 is second. This is always positive right here. When you take anything to the second, it ends up as positive. So you're going to bring in 36, but then you have to add 36 over there. So I have 36 plus 7. Now I factor that trinomial into 2 separate parentheses. It's a perfect square trinomial, so it's going to be the same number. So 1 times 36 is 36 positive. So the signs have to match, and given the fact that they have to add to negative 12, they should probably both be negative. And there we have it. That multiplies to positive 36, and it adds to negative 12. So you can get rid of your 1. It's x minus 6, x minus 6. Then finally we write x minus 6 quantity squared plus 7 equals 36. That's half the battle. Now the other battle is bringing in that h. So h to the second plus 7 equals 36. Then you make a table down here. You have to be organized with your work here, guys. And you're going to bring back that x minus 6 expression, because that is actually what h represents. So I subtract 7 to get to 29. Then I apply a square root, and 29 is not a perfect square, so I divide into it. So 29 divided by 25, nope. 29 divided by 16, nope. 29 divided by 9, nope. You can divide by 1 if you want to. If I get to 1, I am going to just keep it as the square root of 29. So you put square root of 29 and then negative square root of 29. Put the negative outside the square root. Then you add 6, but if you have a square root with that term, you have to put plus 6, because that's a square root, that's not. They're not like terms, so they stay separate. So the square root of 29 plus 6 is the first answer. Then our other answer is negative square root of 29 with the plus 6. Okay. You can't combine terms when there's a square root to one and not the other. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go with 5 more. I've got 3 to do. You have to get repetition before you just know it. Okay. Okay, I want complete the square used to solve it just for today. Okay, so then we do the setup. So first I put the 0, I make a parentheses, kick out your plus 2. and then you're going to put 1x to the second. By the way, line up your a, b, and c. Okay, you still want it equal to 0. If it's not, you got to move things over. Okay, plus 4x. I want a new c though, one that will quote unquote complete the perfect square. Okay, so half of 4, so 4 divided by 2 is 2, 2 to the second is 4. So I brought in a 4. It doesn't have to be multiplied because there's nothing I put out here. So that's 4 plus 2, and then that needs to be rewritten in 2 parentheses. Okay, you can ditch your 1, it's x. Now to find the other 2, 1 times 4 is 4. Positive. We have to add to positive 4. I know that seems kind of weird, but 2 and 2 accomplishes that. Now they have to both be positives. Okay, so plus 2 plus 2. Now write that as a binomial squared. Binomial means there's 2 terms. It's just squared. This is a trinomial. There's 1, 2, 3. These are each binomials. That's what factoring is. You take a trinomial and you factor it into a product of 2 binomials. Okay, that's the first half of the problem. Now bring in your h. So h squared plus 2 equals 4. So x plus 2 we bring back over here. Okay, so I remember it. Now find out what we're going to put here by solving for the h. So we take away the 2. That would be 2. Now I apply a square root. The only thing 2 can be divided by is 1. Now you can do 1. When you get to 1, you can also just keep it under the square root. So square root of 2, square root of 2, negative. Now you minus 2, but then you put it after it, because these are not like terms. When one has a square root and the other doesn't, they have to be separated. So square root of 2 minus 2, and then I do the exact same thing over here, but now it's negatives in front of the first term. It's still minus 2 though, it doesn't go to plus 2. Okay, next problem. So anytime I'm under the instruction complete the square, we need that, and we need a factoring table. A, B, C. So we're good with the 0. So 3 equal signs. I jumped the gun a little bit. So 0 minus 5 is kicked out. The constant's kicked out. You're going to find a new constant that allow you to factor it into a binomial squared. That matches, so minus 2x is good. Minus, and then plus, and I got to find my own c. So b is negative. Just put 2. You're going to take it to the second power anyway. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 to the second is 1. So I brought in a plus 1 to that side of the equation, so I have to bring it to the other side. So 0 plus 1 is 1, minus 5, and I factor that into 2 parentheses. Okay, it's x. 1 times 1 is 1, positive. And they have to add to negative 2, so the signs have to match, and since they have to add to a negative, they need to both be negative. Square root of 1 is 1, okay, so 1 and 1. So x minus 1 minus 1. So now we have x minus 1 quantity squared minus 5 equals 1. That's the first half of the problem. We've rewritten it into a h problem, a vertex problem. So h to the second minus 5 equals 1. So x minus 1 equals x minus 1 equals. We add 5 to get to 6. I apply a square root to the 6, but 6 doesn't divide by 4. You can divide by 1 if you want to and write it as square root of 1, square root of 6, but you really don't have to. If you want to, do it. Okay. So square root of 6, and then square root of 6 with a negative. So we plus 1, so it'd be square root of 6 plus 1. Remember, with the square root over there, you can't add, okay? You need to just put it behind it. Plus 1, so that would be negative square root of 6 plus 1. These are your answers in simplest exact form, okay? Here's why you leave the square root of 6, because square root of 6 is an irrational number. There's no way to get that into an exact answer, so yeah. Okay, next one, x to the second minus 3x equals x minus 1. So there's two answers. And we are using b divided by 2 to the second along with the t table. But when I go a, b, that's a b, that's a c, you need to still be moving everything over. So you got to rewrite the equation before you go into your process. Give yourself room though. Okay, that would go with the 3x plus 1, and that wouldn't go with anything, so it goes up here. So a, I got 1x squared minus 4x, that's my b, and then plus 1, that's my c. Now I can go into the process with the 3 straight equal signs. 0, then you make a parentheses, kick out the plus 1, and you're going to find a new c. A minus 4x, that'd be b. And then I don't know what c. Remember, I kicked the 1 out. It's not going to take me long to find the c, though. We just take negative 4. Just put 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 to the second is 4. Even if that's negative 2 to the second, it's still 4. So I brought in the plus 4. I got to bring it in there. So 4 plus 1. Now you need to factor that into two parentheses, okay? 1 times 4 is 4. We have to add to negative 4. So the signs have to match. They just match as negatives and be 2 by 2, okay? Drop your 1. You don't need it. It's x squared, so that's x times x minus 2 minus 2. Again, x times x is 1x second, negative 2x is negative 4x, and then plus 4. That's why that works like it does. And then rewrite that as x minus 2 quantity squared plus 1, 4. Now you're done with that part. Okay, so I bring in the h. H to the second plus 1 equals 4, but remember, x minus 2. Then you subtract 1, you get 3. You apply a square root to 3. 3 would only divide by 1, and you can divide it by 1 and go square root of 1, square root of 3, so it's 1 square root of 3, that's fine, or you can just leave it, it's up to you. The negative. So I add 2. And that goes after, because it can't be added to 3, because 3 has a square root. So the square root of 3 plus 2, and then the same exact thing on the other side with negative square root of 3 plus 2. Okay. This is the worst one. I don't think I put any like this on the assignment. But okay. T-table. Okay, so A, B, C were equal to 0. 0. Make one parentheses with the plus 6 kicked out of the group. Now, remember, you always put 1x squared, but here's a problem. That isn't what we have up there, okay? All the rest of the problems it has been. So I go up and divide each of these by 3, and the 3 doesn't just go away, it comes out here, okay? You place what you're dividing by out here. Now that's 1x squared, and that's minus 4x. So that's your A, that's your B, okay? So B is negative 4, just put 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 to the second is 4, okay? Now I add 4, but here's a problem. It's 4 times 3. Well, 4 times 3 is 12. 0 plus 12 is 12. Okay? You've still got your plus 6. You've still got your 3. But you need to replace that, rewrite that in 2 parentheses. Okay? So 1 times 4 is 4. And you're adding to negative 4. Well, they both have to be negative. It'd be 2 by 2. Okay, so you can drop the 1, because we always want that as x times x. That's why the 3's got to be kicked out. And then we got 12, we got plus 6, we've still got 3, and it's x minus 2 quantity squared. Okay. Now it's h time. Okay. So 3h to the second plus 6 equals 12. And later I make my table. I know I didn't give you very much work, where I bring back the x minus 2 expression. Okay, then minus your 6. That would take you to 6. Now you're not going to square root because you now have to divide by 3. And that would take you to 2. Then we square root 2, but that doesn't really divide by anything other than 1. So you can do 1 or just put square root of 2. And now we're home free. Plus 2 after, so square root of 2 plus 2. Then plus 2, put it after, and that's negative square root of 2 plus 2. The negative goes outside the square root. It does not go on inside. Okay? Okay, last problem. That's an A, that's a B, that's a C, that's an A. You still need to be moving everything to one side. That would go nicely with that, and I get lucky because that's a 1x squared. That's what we need. Oh, sorry, I need to set up my complete the square process. And then do plus 2x minus 5 equals 0. Okay. Now it's time to go into the process of completing the square, rewriting it. Make a parentheses with minus 5 kicked out. Then 1x to the second, and that matches that, so that's good. Plus 2x plus, and I have to figure that what goes there over here. So b is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 to the second is 1. Okay. Okay, so you plus 1 there. You don't have to multiply it because there's nothing we factored out here. Okay, so it'd be 1 minus 5, and I have to factor that into my 2 parentheses. Okay, okay, so 1 times 1 is 1, positive, and it has to add to positive 2, so they should both be positives this time. Be 1 and 1. So x plus 1, x plus 1, and then it's x plus 1 quantity squared. Okay. Now it's h time. So h to the second minus 5 equals 1. Okay. So we add 5, that's 6. Apply square root to the 6, but that, again, that doesn't really divide by anything, so I'll just put square root of 6, square root of 6 negative. I mean, break it down if you can, but so other than the very first problem, I didn't really get anything that I would actually be able to divide by. I mean, if you want to do the 1, that's fine. So that's square root of 6 minus 1, and then negative square root of 6 minus 1. Okay, you got 3 to do.